You're listening to The Coffee Hour. I'm Andy Bates.
I'm Sarah Gulseth.
We're going to have fun today because we're talking about LWML,
and
bikes, and serving.
Yeah.
It's all good things. Really excited about this conversation. Probably not nearly as excited as you are. I'm excited about it, but you're like bursting at the seams.
There's
here
so many
because
fun things
bikes
today.
and LWML. Yes, all good stuff. Thanks to Concordia University, Wisconsin for supporting The Coffee Hour. Find out more about Concordia University, Wisconsin at cuw.edu.
Live uncommon.
This is a special opportunity. We get to introduce a very special guest today. Our guest is Carla Ellens, and she is zone president for LWML Land of Lake Zone in Michigan. And she is biking from Gaylord, Michigan to the LWML convention in Lexington, Kentucky. Carla, thanks so much for joining us on the Coffee Hour.
Well, thank you for inviting me.
This is really... Sarah's just busting the seams. Sarah just is ready to jump in. This is exciting, isn't it?
It is. It's super exciting. And we get to talk to Carla while she's actually on the road, which is also super cool. And it's this just super fun thing that you're doing, Carla, biking from northern Michigan to Kentucky. And we'll talk about your background as a cyclist, as a fellow cyclist as well in a little bit. But first, what is your involvement with LWML?
Well, as you said, I'm the zone president of Land O'Lake Zone, and I'm also the group president at my church. So I've just recently become involved on the district level. So I'm just very excited to serve in any way I can.
How did you get involved with LWML?
Well, they've had it at my church for a long time, and it really wasn't until my kids left home that I kind of had time to become really involved. But I really love getting together with the other ladies. We have fun. We do crafts. We do mission projects. It's just a lot of fun, as well as being a good organization.
So where did this love for cycling come from? How long have you been a cyclist?
Well, this is I have a long history of cycling. My husband and I started cycling 40 years ago.
Oh, wow.
We were living in California, and we were in our mid-20s and kind of like, well, we should do something, activity-wise. And so he knew somebody at work that was a cyclist, so kind of got us into it at that time. We bought our first bikes. Then we joined the bike club out there, and there were a lot of people that were touring, long-distance riding, carrying your gear and stuff. So we thought, that sounds like fun. So we did our first longish tour in 1981. We rode down the coast of California. And then, things went on and on from there. We took a few years hiatus when we had our kids, but started touring again when they were 6 and 9. And then, of course, we did every touring cyclist goal is to ride across the United States, but we kind of put it on hold because of life. But then when our kids got older, they got interested too. So actually in 1998, when our kids were 12 and 15, we rode across the United States from Oregon to Virginia. Took 3 months doing it. And that was a trip of a lifetime. It definitely changed my kids' lives. And just was, nothing can top that. We did one other really long trip after the kids were gone. We rode mountain bikes down near the Continental Divide from Canada to Mexico, and took our dogs with us and pulled them in trailers.
That's awesome.
So we've biked all over the United States. I think I counted we've biked in like 35 states.
Wow.
So kind of a long history, but mostly touring, going slow, carrying stuff, seeing the sights, meeting people.
I'm like in awe right now because you're right. The tour across the U.S., that is such a pinnacle for people who like to bike pack because there's so much planning that goes into it, but it's such an epic trip to be able to bike that far and see all those things. And I know this, but are there trails or things like how do you get from one side of the country to the other on a bike?
No, we were completely on roads. There's an organization called Adventure Cycling that maps out routes, and it was an established route we followed, not trails, but low traffic roads, and services have sprung up alongside them, like bike stores and parks you can camp in and such. So really the route was pretty easy. We just followed, and they make really nice maps. We just followed their maps across the country. So that was done for us.
What was it like to bring your kids with you on that type of a trip?
I wouldn't recommend anybody doing it with little kids, though people do, because our kids were old enough to, they bought into the trip. It was their trip as well. They wanted to do it. They carried their share of the gear. In fact, they both had more stuff than I did and were faster than me. I was the weak link of the whole group. And so for 3 months we rode and lived and completely together, just our own little cocoon of 4 people. And it was great. I mean, we had our inside jokes, we sang songs, we laughed, and we complained together when it was raining or snowing or hot or windy or whatever. And I tell you, at the end of the trip, we got home like Labor Day weekend. My kids didn't even call their friends when they got home. They just didn't want to lose that closeness that we had for 3 months. Yeah. And then they just showed up at school on Tuesday morning.
Wow.
Hey, guess what I did over the summer?
Yeah. So it was just a turning point, in both of their lives. I mean, definitely ours, but we were already kind of set. But yeah, not that everybody can do that. Right. But I, recommend, whatever your thing is, involve your kids and make it them and, make them, it was a goal and they accomplished it. So.
One, I'm curious how many miles you averaged per day, and 2, I'm thinking about how many calories that would take. Like, it's making me hungry just thinking about it. But how many miles a day were you averaging when you did that trip across the country?
Well, we only averaged like 52 a day, but that counts. I think we took 7 days off completely over the, every so often we just needed a break.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
And some we tried to ride about 70 a day. And then, some days were shorter because of weather or something, or we wanted to just spend a day sightseeing or resting. We had the time, so we did that.
Wow.
So cool.
Did you see? I look at that as how many calories you're burning, and it just makes me think you'd have to eat your way across America too.
We did. We basically did. At one point we made a list of the top 10 things about bike touring. I don't remember them all now, but one was that you can eat anything you want, and all that you want. Yeah. When occasionally we go to a restaurant, and I mean, I could tell you all kinds of stories, but here's one funny story. My daughter, of course, is 15, and, boys are kind of a big thing for her at that age. And we had a young man waiter at this restaurant, and she ordered, I don't know, a hamburger and fries and a milkshake and dessert. And he looked at her and said, she's skinny. Can you eat this? Oh, yeah. And she finished it all.
And then some.
And then some, yeah. I mean, we left nothing on our plates.
That is amazing. What do your kids still bike long distances now?
Not as much. My daughter has 3 children, so she's younger, and she's getting them into cycling. I mean, they can do the older one, 10 miles. He's 8. My son's busy kind of starting his career and his new family, but they have gone for long, day rides or weekend camping trips. My son actually tried his hand at racing after that, and he went to Europe for 3 summers and did very well, but, it's hard to really break into the pro ranks, so he came home and went to college.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm curious about the gear that it requires to do one of these long distance trips, because you're packing everything that you need for this trip. And I'm sure in the last 40 years that touring equipment has changed quite a bit. But what do you actually bring with you on one of these trips on your bike?
Well, we have packs that go on our bikes. They're called panniers, which is probably French for packs on hanging your bike. And Actually, our original packs we bought 40 years ago we're still using. They're really dated, but we like them, and they've been on every single tour. So when we went across the country, we camped all the way. We had tents, we had 2 tents, sleeping bags, cooking gear, like backpacking gear, basically is what it is. Now, on this trip, I'm staying with people, so I have just a small set of panniers and just my clothes and personal items. And you're very limited. I mean, I have 2 pairs, like now, I have 2 pairs of bike clothes, 2 sets, and 1 set of clothes for off the bike. I wear the same clothes every night when I get to my host family, and a raincoat, and that's about it.
Wow.
So you're very limited. It's like backpacking if anybody's ever done that.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us about where did you get the idea to make this trip from Michigan to the LWML convention? What sparked that idea?
Well, I'm not exactly sure I remember, but it was early January, and I was planning on going to the convention, and I was looking at how far it was, how long it would take us to drive there, and I said, it's only 550 miles. That's about as close as it's kind of ever, been in recent history. I thought I could ride my bike there and raise money for mites, and I thought, well, this is crazy. I sat on it a while. And then I was talking to our district president, Mary Beth, and ran it by her, and I thought, well, she's going to poo-poo it because there's risk and liability and whatever. And she said, oh, that's a great idea. So she talked to the Ohio president because I'm going through there and needed help with host lodging. And they talked to the national president, and one thing led to the other, and here I am.
How nice to have that network of support too, as you mentioned, host families along the way, to provide a nice, safe, and comfy place, hopefully to rest each night, so you can get some rest and be ready to ride the next morning.
It is really nice. I've met some wonderful people so far. I mean, I've 4 nights I've stayed, but other LWML active people, and when I get to Ohio, I'll meet people from there. So it's been really fun.
Outstanding. Well, we have more to share of the story of Carla Ellens. She's biking from Gaylord, Michigan to the LWML convention in Lexington, Kentucky. And we have more to share with you here on the Coffee Hour. I'm Andy Bates.
I'm Sarah Gulseth.
You're a miracle. You know that, right? A living, breathing, one-of-a-kind miracle. You were created to stand apart, to share your gifts in the service of others, to make an uncommon impact in a common world. And at Concordia University, it's our mission to help you do that, to live uncommon. To learn more about Concordia, go to cuw.edu.
Welcome back to the Coffee Hour. I'm Andy Bates.
I'm Sarah Gulseth.
Today we are talking with Carla Ellens. She's biking from Gaylord, Michigan to the LWML convention in Lexington, Kentucky. She is zone president for the LWML Land of Lakes zone in Michigan, and biking, did you say 550 miles? Is that right, Carla?
About. It might be a little more by the time I get there.
Hopefully not.
It's getting longer.
Hopefully not backtracking too much, but so far, and in full disclosure, we're pre-recording with Carla today to make sure that we had an opportunity to catch her at a somewhat convenient time. Can't really talk on the phone while you're riding your bike, probably. So made it a time in their schedule that we could record with you, but. Now I lost my question. Tell us about, what does a typical day look like for you as a cyclist on this trip?
Well, I get up and get on, get ready, have breakfast with my hosts, and get all my gear back on my bike, fill up my water bottles, and I get on the road about 7 or about 8. I'm sorry. It's been pretty hot, So I like to get, 20, 30 miles in before noon, before it gets really hot. Excuse me. And I carry all my lunch stuff. I eat, it's very plain, bagels and peanut butter, granola bars, Pop-Tarts.
Yes.
I never eat at home, but it's a good source of junk food and sugar.
Yep.
I'll munch along the way. I'll stop every, hour and a half, 2 hours and get something to eat. If I can find a nice little park with a picnic table and some shade, I'll sit there. If not, I'll stand along the side of the road and snack. And then I get to my host family between, I try to shoot 4 to 5. Sometimes it's a little earlier. Sometimes once it was a little later. And so the first thing, I tell them, you may want to throw me in the shower because I'm sweaty and grubby and kind of don't look like, I want to sit on their furniture or anything. And then we usually spend the evening talking. I get a lot of, we have a lot of fun. And then I'll do some posting on my Facebook page, kind of summarizing the day's activities. During the day, if I see something very cool, I'll take a picture of it and put a little post on there so people can kind of, see what I'm seeing. I've got some good responses, like they feel like they're riding along with me. Just cute little things that you never see from a car. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's another great thing about, bike touring. You see so many things at 10 miles an hour versus, 60 or 70 on the freeway. Mm-hmm. So I was shooting to average 50 miles an hour, or 50 miles a day on this trip. And so I went to the LCMS website, and I kind of highlighted all the cities that were kind of close to my route, and then I contacted LWML zone presidents all along the way and said, hey, can you help me find a host family near this city? And for the most part, it worked out pretty well. Some of my days are longer. I just finished 2 60-mile days because of where the housing fell. But today's only a 30-mile day. So it's a good day to stop and talk to you and rest up a little bit. Mm-hmm. And then tomorrow I will be heading into Ohio, a new state.
What is the scenery like? I know coming from northern Michigan, because Gaylord is quite a ways up there in northern Michigan. What is the scenery like coming south through the state of Michigan into Ohio?
Because northern Michigan is mostly, where I ride is mostly wooded. Mm-hmm. So now, once I hit central Michigan, I was more in farm country. I kind of mapped my own route out using some Michigan maps and county maps, and I was mostly in farm country because they're quiet roads. Mm-hmm. I see everything. I've seen wildlife and cows and you name it. Cool little things on the side of the road, little parks that you just wouldn't see. I'm sitting in this nice little nature center on the side of the road near Jackson, Michigan, right now. On a bench in the shade, watching the frogs jump in a pond.
It's so wonderful to be out in nature like that for such a long journey and to be able to see all of that creation. Now, you mentioned that northern Michigan is very wooded. How do you prepare for? Do you prepare for these trips, or do you do them so often that you don't have to do a lot of preparation in between them?
No. I mean, I have, of course, all winter we can't ride.
Right.
We have a lot of snow. So I started riding, end of March as soon as I could. It was really cold, but I just did a lot of long rides, 30 to 50 miles, as a couple 3 to 4 times a week to get in shape. And with every trip, you kind of get to a point, and I did 2 weeks before I left that. I was like, I'm tired of riding around the same old routes around my house. I really need some new routes. So I was ready to go at that point. Mm-hmm. It's not quite the same as riding 50 miles every day, but I feel pretty good. I think I was in shape enough. And I'm about halfway through.
Nice.
You mentioned, sharing your story on social media as well, so that friends and those who who want to hear about your story can follow along. And I think I read somewhere Miles for Mites on, I think I saw that on a sign. Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, so it's a Facebook group called Miles for Mice. Anybody can go to Facebook and look at it, or you want to join, then you'll get the announcements about posts. Every time I like I said, I see something cool, I'll take a picture of it and post on it, and then summarize every night. So did you want to hear about the Miles for Mites activity I'm doing?
Sure.
So, okay, all right. So I'm raising funds for mites. Hopefully, all the LWML people know what mites are. It's our offerings that we give to the LWML organization that they use to fund various mission projects all over the world. And I can tell you, they're all wonderful mission projects. I mean, we have to vote every 2 years at convention on our top 8 projects to be funded, and I thought it's so hard to choose because they're all great. So I just thought, wouldn't it be great if I could raise, money for mites other than just, my little change and dollars that I put in my mite box? So that's Miles for Mites. I'm inviting anybody that can and has the heart to donate to Miles for Mites. And if you go to that Facebook page, it'll have a link to where you can go to the Michigan District webpage and donate, and then designate it for Miles for Mites. So we can kind of keep track of how much is raised for, curiosity. Mm-hmm. So I know my ride was worth it.
Yeah, mites do. Those mite offerings are those are very incredible grants that do a lot for mission work around the world, and we have one.
You're listening to it right now, yeah.
Right, yeah, we actually received one.
I have, yes. I have seen that grant come through. That's great.
Yes, and we're very thankful to the LWML for that grant to allow us to do some projects here that we wouldn't normally be able to do. So those mites are wonderful, and such a great thing that you're doing too to help raise money for those mites as well. What have you learned about the LWML so far in your trip, being able to meet all of these different people throughout different regions? Have you learned anything new about the LWML or this network of women since you've been on your trip?
Well, we all have different backgrounds and different loves, and so it's been interesting meeting and getting to know the different people. But we all have, the same love for God and the same desire to help other people throughout the world. Now, not everybody can be a missionary in a foreign country, but we can all, be missionaries right here by funding projects and, of course, spreading the word in our own neighborhood. So I'm really excited to be able to do this. I mean, I've never, been a missionary, but now I guess I kind of can be in my own little world, my own way.
On wheels.
On wheels.
On wheels. Yeah, it's something I can do. Not everybody can do it, and everybody has, something they can do, contribute and whatever. So it's my way of supporting the mission.
Anything else that you've had the opportunity to meet so many people, and I'm sure you have a lot of alone time too, thoughts to yourselves while you're riding. Anything else that you've learned or enjoyed? You mentioned getting to see so much and take so much in. Anything else that you've learned along the way or on this ride?
Well, I do a lot of riding by myself, so that's not new, but I'm really enjoying new places and new trails. But, by the end of the day, I wouldn't want to camp alone or something. Mm-hmm. I'm glad to be with other people. I mean, that's kind of part of it. This is the first trip I've done alone, overnight trip. Usually I'm with my husband or, my kids when they were at home. So this is a little different for that reason. But being with other Lutheran couples, families at night, kind of makes the difference. So I'm excited to, meet my host family tonight and all the rest of them down the road.
And you're about to be with, in just a couple of weeks here, about to be with a whole bunch of people real soon.
Yeah, that'll be cool.
So from all the...
another question I keep getting asked is, are you riding back home? No, I'm not that silly. My friend from my church is driving down to the convention, and she took my suitcase with me to the convention, so I don't have to wear the same clothes every day. And then she's bringing me and my bike home.
And it'd all be uphill anyway to go back home, right?
Yeah, it's all been downhill so far.
That's right.
Really.
That's right. Yeah. Well, I hope you can stop by the KFUO booth and love to get a picture with you.
Who's going to be there?
We'll be there. Yeah, we'll be there.
Cool.
So,
I will definitely stop by.
That would be great.
I'm the one that's got a semi-sunburn and, tan line, real weird tan lines to recognize me.
I've got matching cycling tan lines, so we'll be tan line twins.
Okay.
Well, Carla, it has been fantastic talking with you. Can't wait to meet you at the LWML convention in Lexington, Kentucky, coming up very soon. It's just been a great opportunity to hear about your story, biking all the way from Gaylord, Michigan to Lexington, Kentucky for the LWML convention and meeting so many great people along the way. Carla Ellens, Zone President for LWML Land of Lake Zone in Michigan. Thanks so much for being our guest on the Coffee Hour today.
Well, thank you so much. We'll see you soon.
You've been listening to the Coffee Hour. I'm Andy Bates.
I'm Sarah Golseth.
The Coffee Hour with Andy and Sarah is a production of KFUO. To support the Coffee Hour and KFUO Radio, visit KFUO.org. You can also text KFUO to 41444 or send an email to gifts@KFUO.org. And you can call us at 800-844-0524. KFUO. Christ for you, anytime, anywhere.